Good day everyone, welcome. We are going to present phonetic transcription. Our members are Ameilia Kusumawardani, Deva Tio Pambudi, Anindra Candika, Anugerah Bulan Mauludi, and myself, Jonathan Abnerio A. As Indonesian, we usually assume that words in English are composed of pronunciation, which depends on written form of the letters. For example, the word fish. At first, we think that the word consists of 4 sounds due to consisting of 4 letters F, I, S, and H. We mix between sounds and spelling as in Bahasa Indonesia. The word fish actually consists of 3 sounds. We need symbols as phonetic symbols to represent all speech sounds in all human language, known as International Phonetic Alphabet or IPA. The sound of the word is represented by the symbols that inserted between the square brackets. For example, F, I, and H for the word fish. Instead of ordinary spelling, using phonetic transcription is very helpful for various purposes, including teaching pronunciation and reading, because in English, it's not usual to give reliable guide to pronounce some words.
I am Ameilia Kusumawardani and I'd like to talk about consonant. So consonant is spit sounds made by closing or narrowing the vocal tract. And before we continue to the International Phonetic Alphabet or IPA symbols, let's have a quick review about few places of articulation. The first there is bilabial. It's a sound made by pressing both of your lips together, and the example of the sound is p, b, and m. The second there is labiodental. It's sound made by the lower lip which touches the upper teeth. And the example of the sound is f and v. The third there is dental. It's sound made when the tip or blade of the tongue touches the upper teeth. The example of the sound is th or tha and the or tha. The next is a sound made by pressing the front of the tongue against the hard ridge just behind your teeth, known as alveolum, so it's called alveolar sound. The alveolum, also known as the pizza ridge, because that's where you burn your mouth when you take a big bite of hot sliced pizza. The example of the sound is t, d, and n. And then there is postalveolar. It's a sound made by the immediate tip or blade of the tongue constriction behind the alveolar ridge. The example of the sound is sh and z. There is also retroflex. It's a sound made by curling the tip of the tongue backward in the mouth. And the example of the sound is r in the word perro and carro in Spanish. There is also a sound made by pressing the back of the tongue against the soft part of your mouth roof, known as velar, so it's called velar sound. The example is k, g, and ng. And then there is glottal sounds. It's a sound made when the glottis is opening between the vocal folds. The example of the sound is h. As what you have learned, s and t are alveolar sound, means they have the same place of articulation, but they are different in their manners of articulation. Why? Because t is plosive and s is fricatives. So let's have a quick look to 3 of the manners of articulation. The first there is fricatives. It's type of sound made by the air which continuously flowing out of the mouth and causing friction. The example of the sound is f, v, sh, s, and z. And then in the next slide, there is the stops. There are 2 stops. The first there is oral stops. It's a sound made by cuts off the airflow through the mouth and often called plosive. The example of the sound is t and d. And the second stop there is nasal stop, usually called nasal. It's a sound made by closing the mouth by opening the nasal passage using Bulan and by airflow through the nose. The example of the sound is n and m. The next is the chart. This table we are looking at right now is a chart of International Phonetic Alphabet, also known as IPA. The IPA is a finite set of symbols used by linguists to represent all of the sounds that are relevant for spoken language. The IPA chart tells us a lot about the properties of its sound. This means if you do not know the symbol immediately, you can figure out what it sounds like based on its row and column. On the next slide, there are several notes to remember when you read the IPA chart. To make it easier to read and remember, we can put these light columns in a table. As you can see, there are maximum 2 pairs of symbols inside the boxes. The first symbol is always voiceless sound, and the second symbol is always voiced sound. And when there is only one symbol in the boxes, it's always voiced sound. And the empty white boxes are sounds that could exist but haven't been found in any known language yet. And the shaded gray boxes are sounds that the human is incapable of making, or we just don't think the human body is capable of making. Let's move on the next slide. So there are also 2 categories of other consonants that don't fit in the consonant table the way it's commonly structured. The first, there is co-articulated consonant. It sounds where the articulators touch in 2 places, and they don't fit into any column in the previous table. The example of the sound is w. It not only involves the lips coming together, but it's also a constriction and at the film towards the back of your mouth. As you can see, I've marked it in the picture. Next, we will talk about the second category. That is non-pulmonic consonant. It's the consonant that aren't made with air flowing out of the lungs or pulmonic airflow. On the next slide, we can see some categories of this non-pulmonic consonant. This category includes sounds where the air is sucked into the vocal tract or implosive consonant, and ejectives or sounds where the glottis is sealed up and air is forced out of the upper of the vocal tract. The last group of the non-pulmonic consonant are clicks. You make a dental click sound when you make a disapproving. In America, it will be, and it is also used in some languages like Zulu and Khoisan languages. And that is how linguists represent all of the consonants. Let's move on the next slide. To make you more understand and familiar with the sounds, you can visit IPA websites which provided in the slide and click on the symbols. They provide the audio for every symbols. The next material is vowels, and it will be presented by my friend Deva.
Vowel is a syllabic speech sound pronounced without any stricture in the vocal tract. Vowels are one of the 2 principal classes of speech sounds, with the other being consonant. Vowels vary in quality, in loudness, and also in quantity or length. They are usually voiced and are closely involved in prosodic variations, thus tone, intonation, and stress. So the word vowel comes from the Latin word vocalis, meaning vocal. So in the English, the word vowel is commonly used to refer both to vowel sounds and to the written symbols that represent them. So there are several vowels in the world, like in the table on your right. But in English, vowel vary depends on the dialect. It is not same between dialects for like RP or General American. So when considering English as a whole, lexical sets are often used, each name by a word containing the vowel or vowels in questions. So for example, the word lot set consists of words which, like lot, have "a" in received pronunciation and "a" in General American. The lot vowel then refers to the vowel that appears in those words in whichever dialect is being considered, or at a greater level of abstraction, the diaphoneme, which represent this interdialectal correspondence. So, look at the red circle on the table. So on the RP, the vowel is closed mid-back rounded vowel or high mid-back rounded vowel. That sounds like "ah." While in the General American, it is open back rounded vowel or low back rounded vowel. It is also occurred in General Australian. It is same as General American, so received pronunciation and other dialect is different.
Hello, my name is Anindra Candika S, and I will continue the presentation. For the next topic is diacritics and suprasegmental. In IPA, there are 31 diacritics that are used to modify vowels and consonants. Diacritics are small signs that are added to a phonetic symbol in order to transcribe a sound that is related to, but different from the sound that is usually denoted by the pair symbol. Diacritics are used for fine distinction in sounds and to show nasalization of vowels, lengths, stress, and tones. The IPA can be used for broad and narrow transcription. For example, in English, there is only one T sound distinguished by native speakers. Therefore, only one symbol is needed in a broad transcription to indicate every T sound. If there is a need to transcribe narrowly in English, diacritical marks can be added to indicate that the T's in the word take and water differ slightly in pronunciation. Like in the words take, the T is voiceless, and in the word water, the T is voice. Diacritics can also be used to indicate different English pronunciations, such as in British versus American. For example, in the word winter, we can see that the symbol is different, so is the pronunciation. In the UK, we say it as winter, winter. But in the US, we say it winter, winter. The T is voice. In IPA, there are 17 additional signs that indicate suprasegmental. Suprasegmental is a group of symbols for stress, length, intonation, syllabification, and tone. Suprasegmentals are important for making all kinds of meaning, in particular speakers' attitudes or stance to what they are saying or the person they are saying it to, and in marking out how one utterance relates to another. For example, a continuation or a disjunction. So here's two examples. Hospitalization and zoology. In the word hospitalization, there is primary stress, long characters, and also a syllable break. A primary stress is used for indicate that there is a stress here. Hospitalization, there is a stress, and long it indicates that the character here is longer, spelled longer, like hospitalization. And the syllabus break is also used to indicate that there is a spared syllables. So in the word hospitalization, there is 6 syllables. And for the second example, zoology. In the word zoology, there is a primary stress to indicate a stress, a long character, and also a syllable break. Zoology. The O here is longer because there is 2 small triangles up and down, and then followed by a syllable break. It means that there is a break between those two, and also is a different syllable. So in the word zoology, there is 4 syllables.
Hello, my name is Anugerah Bulan Mauludi, and I'd like to continue to the next topic, which is types of phonetic transcription. The first one is narrow or close transcription. It is sounds transcribed in a very detailed way, or dialectical details and peculiarities of a speaker. It includes diacritics or additional marks to refine the description of consonants or vowels. It also helps learners to get exactly the right sounds. As for linguists, they are allowed to make detailed analysis of a language variation, but rarely representative of all speakers of language, and it involves a larger number of symbols that may be unfamiliar to non-specialists. Most Americans and Australians would realize the T of little as tap. Some Southern England people would realize the T as a glottal stop and or the second L as W or something similar. The word little may be transcribed as little, in which L is dark, it's little, or velarized. Or it can be pronounced as little, with the final L is light or unvelarized. The next one is broad transcription, sounds transcribed without including the details that might be language specific or speaker specific. Phonemic transcription, one particular form of a broad transcription, disregards all allophonic difference and shows a representation of phonemic structure as implied by the name. Usually dictionaries use broad transcription to aid language learners looking up pronunciation of words in a dictionary. It usually allows statements to be made which apply across a more diverse language community. Here are the examples of both narrow and broad phonetic transcriptions. We've got the words, and we've into the narrow transcription examples that can be written in different ways of pronunciation. And then we've got the broad transcription examples that are written less specifically. That's all from me, thank you.
Some tips in transcribing. First, use current symbols as the lecturer suggests, whether it's American or British English. Second one is distinguish horseshoe from U and schwa from A. And the third is letter X usually transcribed as KS. And the fourth is use K instead of C and Y instead of Y. And 5. Use small tick under for syllabic at the words. For example, simple and garden. And the 6th, use the symbols rather than the others. And the last one is unpronounced sounds in words. For example, R is not transcribed unless it's followed by a vowel. Thank you for watching our presentation. Have a good day.